welcome everybody to the Paranormal Portal. I'm your host, Brent Thomas. Thank you so much for joining us on this fine Saturday Eve. Hope you're having a great weekend, whatever you're doing, however you're observing the weekend. Hope it's been incredibly pleasant and wonderful. And you are, of course, now dedicating a good part of your weekend to me. And I'm humbled. I'm very humbled. Uh-oh, we're getting the waves. But I want to introduce, of course, my co-host for tonight and many other nights before this. But it's my first branch on the family tree that I created. This is, of course, our very own Sheldon. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great. Glad to be here as always. Hope everybody's doing great and safe and enjoying the coming of spring.
Absolutely. I think everybody's rejoicing in the coming of spring. It actually hailed here today. then we had like 5 minutes of snow, and then it's just been. I mean, it was always in the 40s, so it wasn't like it was going to be snow. But just seeing it again was kind of like a slap in the face. Like, oh, it's spring, spring, spring. It's like getting smacked.
We get a little weather lag, you know how it is.
Yeah, exactly. It's like getting hit in the head. Hello, Christy. How you guys doing? Good to see you, Sandra, Christy, Maggie, Rachel, Brooks, Blue Line Bigfoot in the house. Good to see you guys. And let's see who else has been in there. Rosemary Andrews is in here. Ruger Ridge. Let's see. Did I miss anybody else? I'm sure I have. I saw Monogard was in here earlier. Like the first one in the door on YouTube, and that was like, wow, way to show up. The Pharmacy Seeds is here as well. I see that. I'm just perusing the list here quickly as I'm going. But yeah, great to see you guys. Ruger Ridge is here as well. So, what's that noise? Do you hear that?
I did hear that.
That's kind of like another voice was coming through. I think I'm going to drop TFR for a second and then reconnect it because I'm getting like the wave noises, so let's hold on to that for a second and see if we can get that done. Remove, there we go. Let's re-add it and see what the hell that sounds like. Not on this call. Let's get it on this call, shall we?
Oh, yeah.
There we go. All right, let's add them back and see if that sounds a lot clearer than it did. Yeah, that sounds much nicer. Okay. Well, ladies and gentlemen, as always, we are about to bring you 2 full hours of the paranormal as we know it, or as we believe we know it. I got a bunch of stuff lined up for you guys tonight. Hopefully, it all goes epically. In my mind, it is, of course, but we'll see how it all dials out here when we actually start drilling the show out. But before we go any further, I'd like to thank the Paranormal Portal sponsor, which is, of course, Cryptid Coin, ladies and gentlemen. It's a brand new cryptid currency, the most exciting addition to the world of cryptocurrency for quite a while, and it's got the heart of the cryptid research as its core. And investing in Cryptid Coin is an investment in cryptid research and investigations, and it's now available on PancakeSwap. So check it out if you want to get involved and help support big, cryptid research the world over. Then this is your opportunity. Again, this is not investment advice, but it's just kind of neat to see one of these currencies come out that actually, resonates, at least with me. And I was real honored when they wanted to sponsor the Paranormal Portal. So very cool. And special thank you to Cryptid Coin for picking us up and making us feel loved. If you want more information, go to cryptidcoin.io. Again, that's cryptidcoin.io for more information. So, Sheldon, how do you feel about some news?
I feel like that's a perfect place to begin.
It is, because it's the place we always begin. So as far as that goes, it is perfect because it's the only thing I got lined up right now. So if you didn't like it, we're screwed because we're going there anyway.
Too bad.
But too bad. We're going to the news, ladies and gentlemen. Let's dive in and see what kind of fun I've aggregated for you tonight. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Paranormal Portal News Desk. I'm your anchor, Brent Thomas, joined by my co-anchor,
Sheldon Thomas.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. All right, let's get into the news. The first article up for your indulgence is coming from, of course, unexplained-mysteries.com. And let's see, I got some new ones and I got a couple of old ones. So we'll see what the new ones have to say first after I close that ad. All right. Here we go. And the first one is his professor offers out there theory on alien abduction. Let's hope it's not so out there that we got to read it for a half hour. Nope, it's not. And it says Dr. David Jacobs of Temple University has reached a rather startling conclusion about abductees' experiences. Despite the unusual nature of such claims, there is still a surprising number of people who believe that they have, at some stage in their lives, encountered beings from another world. That's all, folks. That's my Porky Pig, I guess. The typical abduction experience usually involves a person being taken from their home, subjected to medical experiments, and then returned with their memories of the encounter distorted or completely erased. One man who's been attempting to make sense of such experiences is Dr. David Jacobs, a researcher and author who spent years collecting and comparing abductee testimonials. He has since come to the rather startling conclusion that alien abduction is a precursor to a future alien invasion, with the abductees themselves fulfilling some sort of role during the attack. Okay. Well, I don't know. All right, let's continue. There's just a million things that popped in my mind given that theory. But anyway, we have spread around the world and conquered as much as we can. We don't know whether this is true of other beings or not, but it certainly is true of what humans have done, he said. My best guess, and this is a guess, is that, yeah, they're doing the same thing. This is what they do just like us. Dr. Jacobs also suggested that reports by abductees and of human-like aliens aboard UFOs... Seriously?
Yeah.
That's really strange. Welcome to the portal, ladies and gentlemen.
Woohoo!
It says, where the hell was I? Dr. Jacobs also suggests that reports by abductees of human-like aliens aboard UFOs could indicate that plans to infiltrate human society are already in motion. What they were describing was the ones on board who looked really, really human were coming down and trying to learn what it's like to walk among us, to be human, he said. At that point, I knew its integration into society prior to takeover. Could be, but come on. I mean, maybe they just want to be friends. They're like, they don't want to come in with their bulbous fish heads with gills and stuff and try to blend in. If
it's going to happen, I feel like medieval times would have been like the time to do it.
Yep. It says they can control us and we can't control them. They are superhuman, so to speak. Whether they're going to take over or not, they can control the human mind. I don't know what's going to happen after that. I fear the worst. So again, do they really need to do all of this if they're as advanced as, I mean, it's like, it's kind of akin to, let's see, let me have a metaphor for this. It's like
War of the Worlds.
Yeah, it's like War of the Worlds, I guess. I mean, even that talked of a precursor because, like, the craft were in the ground. They were in... I don't know what the hell's going on, folks. That is so weird. I might be being abducted right now for all I know. But in the War of the Worlds, the ships were already deep in the ground, like from prehistoric times. But the thing is if they're so advanced, they have to be here to learn if they're here. They have to be here to learn about us, and not in a we got to take them over kind of way, because literally I'm pretty sure they could about flick a cosmic booger at us and wipe us off the map, you know? So I don't think that we're in a position to offer any resistance whatsoever. So why infiltrate? Why go to all these elaborate means and measures to learn what they could? I mean, they could just sit in orbit and look at our internet and learn everything about us, the good, the bad, the ugly, and the otherwise. You know, I mean, there's nothing they stand to learn by assimilating and being our neighbors and our coworkers and, maybe greeters at Walmart, because I swear some of those guys are alien. I'm just saying. I'm just putting it out there, folks. But I will say that they are probably so far ahead of us that we're not really going to offer resistance anyway. So maybe it's more altruistic than that. Maybe they're trying to learn about us because they want to help us. They want to help us, over the last few hurdles as we develop, intellectually, spiritually, technologically. And so they want to become part of our process to be here with us as we do that. But there's the squeak. It's like talking to like Jabba the Hutt here or something. Or the Imperial probe droid or something. Anyway.
I mean, it's like you're saying, though. I mean, it would be as easy as just finding a Texas-sized meteor and throwing it at us. Like, that's how easy it is.
Yeah, let's just drag this big thing into their planet, and we'll wait for the fires to cool, and it'll be ours,
Yeah.
I don't know. I think the one thing that we kind of thought maybe we were really unique in the universe for a long time. Like, we have this unique corner of the universe where we have plants and we have diverse life and water and all of these things in perfect balance. But as we're researching, we're finding, I think, upwards of 5,000 exoplanets right now that are in the sweetheart zone around their respective stars. So I don't think that there's anything so unique about Earth other than it's the home that we're in. And so I don't know. I don't buy all this fear mongering. I think it just doesn't stand up to measure. Why exert so many resources and time to something that they could do so simply and without any stretch of the imagination could just dominate us in a heartbeat if they are as extremely advanced as we believe they are. So my thoughts on it, am I right? I don't know, but it's just what occurs to me. So putting it out there, you be the judge. So that's the first article on the board tonight. I didn't even pre-read that. I read that for the first time now. Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
Isn't it like I'm having a conversation with someone else too? Like, hey, you didn't. It's like Eric Cartman in the next room or something. Hey, guys.
Trying to hack in. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know what that sound is, folks, but it's probably one of Microsoft's upgrades to my Skype, which is always a pleasure. Let's go to the next one. The next one up is from unexplained-mysteries.com. This is CIA files reveal that Soviets were developing cybernetic telepathy. And this is a new one as well from February 4th, 2022. Newly released documents suggest that the Soviet Union was experimenting with telepathic communication. I don't think that's unique to them, though. I think everybody's experimented with telepathic communication. Anybody that's interested in pushing the limits of human possibility. But anyway, according to the 1960s CIA reports, which were released recently under the Freedom of Information Act, the USSR had looked extensively into metaphysical phenomena such as extrasensory perception and telepathy during the Cold War. At the time, there was a great interest in the potential to use telepathic communication to interface directly with machines, a field generally referred to as cybernetics. In one of the reports, Soviet scientist D.A. Kermanov had told a CIA agent how his team had attempted to record or tape the central nervous system signals. It's got to be some kind of Skype feedback. God, it's annoying. Of a pianist and broadcast them into the arms of another person who had been observed otherwise unable to play the piano. That person would then be enabled to play difficult music, but would also retain some of the skill as permanent learning, the agent wrote. When pushed for specific details, however, Kermanov was unable to provide any meaningful data. The agent who conducted the interview also gleaned hints of other experiments, too. Kermanov claimed that the Vasilyev had been able to demonstrate very strong ESP with certain subjects, but only certain persons are capable of receiving the waves, he wrote. Some of the ESP in which Kermanov involved not merely guessing events, but the prediction of future random events. Of course, the United States had also conducted its own secretive research into metaphysical phenomena at around the same time, including the use of remote viewing to spy on the Soviets. It's also likely that both were involved in even more out there experiments that we have yet to hear about. Whether or not either side saw any genuine success, however, remains a topic of debate. You can check out the reports over on the Government Attic, and there's a link here. So just go over to the Government Attic And you can look into all this kind of fun stuff if you're looking for something to do. I'm sure it's compelling reading. It's government reading. It's got to be amazing. It's like the next Tolkien, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, there is that, Sheldon.
Interesting. So they're kind of using technology to be able to transfer words or data between two people type of thing, I'm guessing.
Yeah, it sounds like it. It almost like they were it's almost like they're making their own James Bond program. It's like or like Neo in the Matrix, like, I need to be able to fly a helicopter. Okay, hold on. You know, they plug him in and, oh yeah, got it. I know Kung Fu now. Yeah, exactly. I can beatbox now. Wait, I needed the helicopter. Sorry. It just was funny in my head, so I went with it. All right, next up in our festival of fun here, unexplainedmysteries.com brings us the entire human genome has been sequenced for the first time. Now, is it just me, or wasn't this being claimed back in like the 80s? I mean, or the 90s or something? Wasn't this like supposedly already done? I don't know. Apparently,
yeah, I remember something like that coming out in the 80s.
Is it just me? Because I swear to God, I remember like 20 years ago, oh, we mapped the whole genome. It's like, wow, that's cool. Well, apparently they lied, because now they did.
Wow.
Now it's been mapped, as far as we know. The feat has been finally achieved after 19 years after the Human Genome Project started. Sequenced 92% of it. Gabrielle Hartley, a PhD candidate in molecular and cell biology at the University of Kent. I don't know what to do with that. It's like, what the hell? Jeez. Takes a look at this impressive feat. Okay, and so this is all the whole article. So they've done it, folks. Let's move on to the next one. Apparently they've done it.
They haven't done it, 'cause it's 92%. Well, it's not 100.
I don't know. Maybe the rest of it's like viruses and stuff that overwrote the genetic sequence or whatever. This one's fly poop. Nope. Who knows? Who knows what's imprinted on our genetics after all this time? I'm sure we're a beautiful orchestra of biological potential. Let's go to the next one. This is obviously a very exhaustive read, and none of you, I'm sure, including myself, are that interested. When they use it to cure something, let me know. I'm willing to talk about it, but to map it out is a big start, and maybe they can do things like take care of prenatal conditions that may develop into disease later in life. Things like that, I think, are exciting and wonderful. So I'm not meaning to belittle the event. I think it is wonderful, but I thought for sure they did this 20 years ago already. I'm just saying. I'm just throwing that out there. So let's go to the next one, because that's a whole lot of fluff. And next up on the roster, Sheldon, is this gem that I actually found yesterday, and I didn't get a chance to read it because we ran out of time. But I'm going to read it now because, by God, people need to know. All right. Yeah, I'm going to try to disconnect TFR after the news again, too. We're over the break. But this is apparently from unexplained-mysteries.com. Weird alien-like creature washes up on Australian beach. Every time a creature washes up on the beach, it means that it's probably something that died and pretty well decayed out at sea. There was like a raccoon that washed up over on the East Coast, and people were like, it's one of the monsters from the secret experiments they're doing. And they tested it, and it was actually a raccoon that was pretty well decomposed. Because I don't think most people know what raccoons look like when they're naked without hair and their skin is peeling off their skeleton. Looks like a horrible thing, but it was literally like a raccoon or a possum or something. Well, this one is Pastor Alan Tan recently captured footage of a very strange creature he discovered on a beach in Queensland. And if you're looking on YouTube, you can actually see the picture. But I'm here to tell you it's like a possum or a raccoon. So I'm going to save you a little work here. Describing the find as alien-like, Tan explained that he had discovered something weird before panning the camera down to provide a closer look at the remains splayed out on the sand. It was really interesting to what the heck this was. I was really just interested in what the heck this was. Sorry, I read that wrong. The discovery was made on Queensland's Maroochydore Beach back on March 21st. It says, according to social media, video surface Storyful. Yeah, it's got to be an echo, some kind of weird feedback echo. He had described the creature as having human-like hands, a long lizard tail, a nose like a possum, and patches of black fur. The video quickly gained a great deal of attention online and left social media users speculating over exactly what type of creature it could be. According to University of Queensland Associate Professor Stephen Johnston, however, the most likely explanation is that it's simply a swollen, waterlogged brush-tail possum. You can check out the clip and decide below and decide for yourself. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is. It's just all the hair falls off when it's getting all rotting in the water, and so that's just what happens. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's too bad, poor guy. I mean, it's probably no fun going that way. But anyway, it's not quite as creepy as was led to believe. All right, that's that one. Let me check the time, see how we're doing here, Sheldon. I almost called you Sheldon.
I'll respond to it if you call me that.
Oh, yeah. No, it's fine. It was just a slip of the tongue. It wasn't anything disparaging, I promise.
Okay.
The next up is unexplained-mysteries.com. Bus driver's life was saved by pocket Bible. This one comes from the archives, February 25th, 2014. Now, this is a cool story. I did glance at this one a little bit before the show, but really cool. Is it divine intervention? Well, maybe. I think it's pretty cool. That, however, is not. Ricky Wagoner miraculously escaped death when his Bible stopped 2 bullets from penetrating his chest. The 49-year-old Dayton bus driver had parked his bus due to a mechanical failure and had disembarked to assess the problem, and as he was doing so, 3 teens approached him and opened fire, hitting him twice in the chest. Incredibly, a small Bible that Wagoner had been keeping in his pocket somehow stopped both bullets from penetrating his body and went on to survive the ordeal relatively unscathed. I had a book in my pocket, he said during the 911 call. At first I thought it went through, but it just feels like I've been hit with a sledgehammer in the chest and I've been cut on the arm. Police are now attempting to track down the teenagers responsible for the attack, and I hope they caught him. There was no update to this, so I hope they did, because that's all kinds of twisted just to walk up to somebody starting to shoot. That's so bad. But hey, what a cool deal. He had the pocket Bible on and it caught the bullets. I think those kind of things are just as miraculous as like the skies parting and, angels descending. I mean, sometimes, as they say, the Lord works in mysterious ways, folks. So This could be one of those ways. All right. Very cool story. And really loving it. Love a happy ending like that. Yeah. All right. This one has just cracked me up. I saw this and I went, I got to read this one. This one's just so weird. And it's not what you'd expect. And it's coming from unexplained-mysteries.com. I don't know if you want to live in Phoenix after hearing this. You might want to think about moving if you happen to live in Phoenix. But in 2014, this was a real issue, apparently. And it's Chihuahua gangs terrorize Phoenix suburbs. The ferocious Chihuahua gangs. Roaming packs of small dogs are proving to be an unexpected menace in some parts of Arizona. Chihuahuas might not be the first breed that springs to mind when you think of dangerous dogs, yet for residents of Maryvale, the threat posed by these pint-sized canines is proving all too real. Out-of-control gangs of Chihuahuas have been seen chasing young school children, a problem that has generated great concern among parents and school officials. The animals have also been fouling roads and footpaths with impunity. They're leaving doggy bombs all over the place. Okay. Raising concerns over public health. Animal control officials say they've received over 6,000 phone calls about the animals last year alone and are currently finding themselves overwhelmed by the problem. We're comparing the number of calls we get in 2013 from that area to similar areas in town, and the calls from Maryville are 3 times higher than surrounding areas, said Melissa Gable of the Maricopa County Animal Care and Control. Part of it is these animals aren't spayed or neutered, so they're out there looking for a mate and are having babies, which also contributes to the problem. Wow. Yeah, get your pets fixed, folks.
Yeah.
Jeez, marauding bands of Chihuahuas. I'm telling you, wear hiking boots. You should be fine.
It's true. Yeah, they're just ankle biters.
Yeah, they just go after your feet, so you should be fine. You get some thick hiking boots on. But yeah, oof, that's kind of not the menace you'd expect from a Chihuahua. But anyway, apparently it's true. They used to just want Taco Bell. Now they want your lunch money. Yo quiero Taco Bell. All right, let's go to the next one, and this is from unexplained-mysteries.com, and this is our last one for the night. Let me look at the time here. Oh no, it won't be. We're gonna go to the break, folks. So this will conclude the news for today. I might read the next one anyway, just because it's so damn funny. But we'll be right back, folks. Don't go away. Hi, everybody. Welcome back. We are now involved in the second half hour of the show. We're here. We made it. The news went rather well, I thought. Did you like that, Sheldon?
I did. Thought there were some great stories in it.
There was great stories. That's true. Great memories were formed just then. But we're going to form some more as we move forward here. And as always, we've got a whole host of things to get to. Man, I got a lot of crap open here. Let's close some things down. I don't need all this stuff open. There we go. That'll help. That'll help the old RAM issues. All right, let's see what we got. The next thing up on the bat, up to bat is here, and it's here. Yeah, there we go. We've been talking about these stories. I only got 5 of them left, so there isn't a ton of them left, but kind of interesting of these people finding places that shouldn't exist. And there's literally 5 stories left. So I want to get through this article so I can close this tab and call it a day. But the one we're on now, the article comes from Money Awaits, and it's number 5 is the one we're on. And again, this is it's not what this site is known for. This Money Awaits is not known for paranormal content, but they really did a great job pulling this together. I don't know how these work. I think that normally they're really buried in ads on the margins, and it's just a way for these sites to generate a lot of money just by ad placements and stuff. But they have some great content all the same. Hey, Cold Stairs. Hi, guys. Hope you're well. It's been a while. Life got really, really busy for me. Well, I understand, brother, and completely understand that life happens for all of us. Oh, Julia, good to see you. Saltamontes is here. Good to see you. Julia's here. And I'm just looking at the name. Bigfoot Anon's here. Big Portal Mama's here as well. David Heitensheimer is here. Rachel's still here. Good. We haven't scared her off. And Maggie.
Yeah.
How you doing, Maggie? So just hello to those of you that I know I didn't say hello to before, or I don't believe I did. If I said hello to you twice, it's just your lucky day. But this is a cool page. So let's read number 5. It says, maybe it was Pumpkin Hill. I don't know what that reference means, but let's see what it says. Maybe it'll make more sense after I read it. I'm not sure what Pumpkin Hill is, but anyway. Oh yeah, I was going to disconnect that. Let me try that quick again.
Yeah.
I don't want to hear myself squawking back in my own face repeatedly. So let's go here and let me disconnect the network again, and we'll reconnect it one more time. All right, let's do this and do this and do this. There we go. Fingers crossed, folks. Hopefully it won't be quite as sassy. Sounds like a sassy nag in the background. Did you take out the garbage? I don't know.
Yeah, it sounds like an angry cat in the background.
Okay, we'll go with angry cat. I got a few of those anyway. So they're angry with each other all the time. I got done with the show last night, and there's like little tufts of fur all over the living room, different colors, white and black. It's like, oh man, they got to learn to get along. I thought for sure I was going to find like a paw somewhere, but they were just laying around lounging after that. So maybe they got it worked out. We'll see. Number 5 was at Pumpkin Hill. When my brother and I were 10 and 12 respectively, our family went on a hike through the cemetery and into the woods not far from our house. My brothers and I would explore these woods every day, even camped in them before, and we knew it like the back of our hands. Anyway, as the family hit our usual spot by the creek halfway through the hike, my brother and I said we would be back in a few. We wanted to wander off. Never mind, didn't work. Didn't work. We wanted to wander off further up creek, so we did. Wonder if they brought a paddle. Sorry, that was free. We came across a very large hill we'd never seen before, and it was littered with what looked like all of someone's worldly possessions. As if they turned a house upside down, shook out its contents, took the house, and left. There were tons of painted X's on the trees showing someone intended to cut them down at some point, and we poked around for a few when we thought we heard our mom hollering at us. So we turned tail and walked maybe 20 feet back down the hill to where our parents were. The entire encounter was maybe 45 minutes long on our end. As soon as our mom saw us, we got the beating of a lifetime. Ooh, that was not the way I was expecting this story to go. Okay. We got the beating of a lifetime. We had actually been gone almost 4 hours. She never saw us walk up any hill and remembered seeing us meandering down the straight path by the creek, not turning up a hill that was 20 feet away. My mom, dad, and our other brother combed the woods for over 4 hours, screaming our names, and couldn't find hide nor tail of us. We pleaded our case and even tried showing her the hill. Surely she was messing with us, so we stomped up to the turnoff for the hill, and it was gone. Nowhere to be seen. For years we explored those woods, determined to find that hill. We covered miles and miles and off-path woods, and we got older. We mapped it out, and to this day, that hill does not exist. We never found it again. Never found the weird furniture, toys, clothes, and other household items that were scattered around across the hill, and never met anyone in the area that had a clue about the hill. We probably just wandered way further than we meant to, but I always found it weird that we never found the hill again. That's a great example for like the missing 411 stuff, you know?
Yeah.
Is this what happens to some of those people that just go missing and that's it? And then they eventually pass on or you know, and their remains are deposited back in our reality, so to speak. I don't know. That's what I get from these stories, that like I try to wonder if this could be the phenomena that happens to these people that just boom are gone.
One thing I really wonder, I lean more to one side than the other, but with these stories, the missing 411 type of stories that could be at least like them, is if it always, I wonder if it's targeted or if it's random.
Oh.
Like, is it something that is pushing us towards, you know, this direction and pulls us in type of thing, and then releases for some reason and other times doesn't, or if it's just at that place at that certain time and, you know, someone just wanders into it. That's
a good question, and I don't think anybody's capable of answering that, but that is a great question. Is it something that's being directed, like a trap, that kind of thing, or is it just a random occurrence? And I wish I knew, but it's really really creepy stuff. And that was by Real Abstract Squid II. Very weird. That hill did not exist anymore. And number 4, turns out even extraterrestrials like tacos. Well, there you go. That's why they're here. That is because they want to eat tacos.
Makes sense.
That does to me. Everybody likes tacos. Let's go to the board here. It turns out even extraterrestrials like tacos. Sorry. My mouth. Rachel says, Paranormal Portal, I went through something like that, Brent. A curtain of air in the woods. Felt like I was stepping through something. See, now that's cool. That's really cool. I'm glad you're okay. That curtain of air in the woods could have been, horrible, but I'm glad it worked out okay in your situation. But yeah, that's seriously sketchy. I don't know. Maybe these guys ended up passing through something like that, and being younger just didn't really put anything to it. But
right.
Let's see what number 4 is. Was driving through Illinois to get to Chicago about a decade ago with a group of friends, and we stopped at a taco place. The first thing we noticed was that the workers were acting very odd. Everything they said was monotone and rehearsed. After sitting in this fairly busy restaurant for a bit, we kind of all just looked at each other at the same time as we realized that none of the conversations happening around us made any sense. The people weren't speaking, and it was English, but the sentences weren't logical. They were just saying words at each other, and we didn't say much about it until we got outside, at which point we all freaked out and confirmed each other's experience at once. And we got out of there. We jokingly refer to that place as the NPC training center. Since people didn't seem to be real, or they were learning how to be human or something. It still freaks me out. That was by Captain Longbeard. Ooh, wonder if it's related to Don. Don, do you got a captain in your family? What the hell's going on here? I didn't know the Longbeard family tree extended so far.
Either that or it's the next rank of Longbeard.
Yeah, Don hasn't quite reached captain yet.
It's not there yet.
Yep. I just got this vision of Captain Crunch in my head, you know?
That's Captain Longbeard. Yep.
Oh, you never know. You never know. All right. That is a cool story though, because all right, what if that is exactly what it is? What if it's a place where these aliens have kind of set up their own little community and practice being human before they try to integrate? I mean, would it make sense? I don't know.
I think that makes. I mean, it's all about the placement on and all that, but I would think so. I mean,
I don't know. I mean,
if we are like a petri dish to them and just experimenting and just seeing how it would make sense for them to pull like weird and interesting things just to see how we react or how we squirm. You know?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's instead of being Sheldon, your sample 1194.
Yeah,
That's because you're a petri dish, Sheldon.
that's right. Yeah, got a lot going on in here.
Amen, brother. Amen. All right. Well, you're one of my favorite petri dishes, so just so you know that. All right.
Awesome.
Number 3, here come the Men in Black. Well, it's a good place to go after that, I guess. When I was small, I went out to check a local graveyard. It's not as weird as it sounds. There was Norman art and scattered human bones, which are neat when you're 10. Oh, that sounds terrible.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, I'm cycling in there and I see 4 guys in Ordnance Corps gear. I don't know what that means. I'm not sure where this is, but walking from grave to grave, and before I had much chance to investigate, 2 soldiers pointed their rifles and told me to leave. So I headed back home and told my mom what I saw. Bomb scares happen every once in a while here in Cary as they find ammo from the Civil War. So we, Mom and Dad and brother, decided to go drive down. And this is only a few minutes after I was there. We turned into the junction, and that's all I remember. I wake up in a field next to the graveyard. My head hurts so much. After I realize where I am, I begin yelling out for my family, and I hear replies from over by the graveyard. Hopping over the wall, I see my brother lying the wrong way over a bench, and my dad coming out from the abandoned church, and he says he was sitting against one of the walls. We go over to the car, which is haphazardly in the middle of the car park, and my mom is slumped over the wheel. Well, when we wake her, she jumps back with a panicked look on her face, and she yells at us to get into the car, and we speed off. When we get home, we start talking about what happened, and me and my dad and my brother all remember nothing past the junction. My mom remembers past the junction. She said she saw something there that was a bright white flash, and then there was nothing. It still freaks me out just thinking about it. Wow. That's a hell of a story.
Especially it affecting a whole family.
Right. That's very, very weird. That was by Connor Crowley. Mr. Crowley.
It sounds like they saw something they weren't supposed to, type of thing.
Well, it does sound like a kind of the Men in Black kind of experience or something.
Yeah.
Now, the thing is what are Men in Black? Are they aliens as well? Kind of like an organizing group of them that kind of keep all the other ones in line or whatever? I don't know. Could be. It could be a lot of things, but man, that's a hell of an encounter. What did you say?
Adjustment Bureau, maybe.
Yeah. Well, there's that. But I don't know. The weird part is the kid was talking about bones being all over the place. It's like, what the hell's going on there? That's not comforting at all. But let's go to the next one. Number 2. What is Buffer Night? But what is Buffer Night? Okay. This story takes place in the mid-90s, a time before widely used cell phones and GPS. My 2 best friends and I, freshly able to drive, decided we would head out on a Saturday to a water park in southern Missouri, about a 3-hour drive from our hometown in northwest Arkansas. We'd never been before and just used road maps to get there. We had a pretty fantastic time, but as the sun started to reach the tree line, we thought we ought to head home. It's about 7 o'clock and we miss a turn, but my friend Paul, who was navigating, said not to worry. Another turn was coming up that would get us there just as fast. The next turn took us from detoured to completely lost. By 8 o'clock, we were on a road that seemed to be lacking in informative road signs with 0 lights. We finally see a gas station and are relieved to get some directions as well as some gas.
Oh, gas station.
Oh, gas.
It's a gas station.
My friend Taylor and I go inside while Paul pumps the gas, and we come inside, and a very friendly old man in his early 60s who gives us a very large grin and says, "Well, hello there." Sorry, I had to act it out. It was a very Foghorn Leghorn-esque. It looked like an extreme hillbilly, but very pleasant. We explained that we needed gas and we wanted to fill up, and he explained that he was about to shut down for the night, but would be happy to oblige us. And he then said something I'll never forget. You have to make what?
Say it in the voice.
Oh, you have to make it make haste though. Tonight is buffer night. What the hell is buffer night? Uh-oh. Taylor and I looked at each other and shared an awkward look, and we asked him if we could point out our location on the road map. While he was finding it, two people entered the shop from the back and called out for the old man, and he said he was up front. The two approached us, a man and a woman, and at first looked confused. Then, as though hit with an epiphany, they smiled. They asked the old man, "Are these the guests tonight?" He shot them a look and said, "No, these are some lost children." The way he said children caused the hairs on my neck to stand up. Not sure why. They looked at us and said, "The three of you should make haste because tonight is buffer night." Two things scared me right then. The first being, how did they know about Paul pumping gas out front when they came from the back? And the second being that they repeated the old man verbatim. We clarified the directions to get back on the main highway and paid for the gas without waiting for change. Taylor and I booked it out of the gas station to find Paul already in the passenger seat. Excuse me. We got in the car. Sorry. Got to wait for the feedback to stop. We got in the car and we were nearly airborne from the speed we took off. Before we could say anything, Paul told us about how 3 men from across the street stood under a tree just watching him. He waved, but they didn't move a muscle. We just drove as fast as we could until we got back to the highway, and to this day, I will still have nightmares every so often about that gas station and what my imagination has twisted buffer night into being. That was by Sleuth 849.
Interesting. Why is it always gas stations, though?
This article is full of gas station stories. It's incredible. Oh. Gas stations must be like, I don't know, a psychic equinox of some kind. I don't know.
It's gotta.
Sorry, I got to cough up along here. Keep talking. Keep wondering out loud about with this story.
Well, I wonder if it's like, kind of like what you're saying. It's like a comfort place. It's that place of safety. You know, like that actually might be it. The fact that, like when you're on the road and all alone, the safest place you can think of when you're on that open road is the gas station. So let's say that they're using it. Whatever is causing them either to shift or if it's spiritual or if it's alien, whatever it is, it kind of is like a safe place that we view on the open road. So it actually makes sense to me. What do you think?
I think it could be. It's anybody's guess. What the hell's buffer night? I don't know. But I know that. Yeah, I don't know. I'm pretty sure I wouldn't want to be there once I heard that either. It's like, nope. Whatever the hell buffer night is, hell no. I'm noping out.
I might stay.
You really? Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things you got to be kind of curious. Like, what exactly is buffer night? But if you saw people walking out, standing under a tree and just staring at you, and the other people are in the gas station going, "Are these our guests for buffer night?" No. These are just some lost kids. It's like, oh, buffer night does not sound like a good place to be. I don't know. The other thing, and I'll tell you, this has come up a couple times lately. And this really hasn't, maybe it has something to do with this stuff. Maybe it doesn't. It's one of those way out there theories, but for some reason, and I don't know why, so many times in the course of doing this show, I've tried to do show themes back when I picked a theme for a show and did just a whole show on one idea. I tried to do shows on vampires. I had a hell of a time finding anything of substance other than stories from the 16 through 1800s over in Europe and even into New America. But just there were just these legendary tales of, well, people started getting sick and they dug up a body and, cut off the head and put a cage around it, whatever. Any number of things like that. So there's those stories. And then the only other stuff I ever found was kind of the counterculture stuff where the goth, vampire craze where let's pretend like we're from Interview with a Vampire and dress all, goth and stay out at night and even toy around with drinking blood. So it's kind of the counterculture, but I could never find really anything about vampires. And I always thought that was curious because, of course, the stories of vampires are part of our lore. Now, the problem with vampires, I think, is that it's become such a Hollywoodized thing. It's Hollywood concepts and it's been, taken from whatever it might actually have started as and became something else. But I will tell you that in the last week, I've talked to 2 people who allegedly have had experiences with vampires, like the real thing. And it's creepy as hell. There's something about their stories that it makes me actually shudder. Like it makes me go, oh, I don't know. And so then you hear stories like Buffer Night. What if those things are really out there that are really a part of our world, but they're just so well integrated into it that they're just in these out of the way places and, they have their own little communities. What if it's like that? And I don't know. I mean, I'm just, again, it's stupid, wild speculation, but I don't know, something about those stories, both of them. I'm trying to talk to one of the guys to come on the show. The other one I have to get him on and talk some more. But in both of those cases, the stories, at least in the one from this week, I didn't really hear much about the first one. He mentioned it and we never got that far when I talked to him. But the next one actually wrote me a huge email about the experience, and it really made me shudder. It was like, oh, so take it for whatever it is. I mean, I can only assume that if people are going to reach out to me and try to talk to me and tell me these long, incredible stories of what they've experienced, there's got to be truth to it. I can't sit out on the side and go, you're full of baloney. I don't believe you. I don't think that that's fair. If people reach out for help, and it was literally a plea for help. What have I experienced? I don't know what's going on. I feel like I'm going crazy. Help me, please. And it's like, okay, so I've had this dialogue and we talked, and without getting into any more detail, because I don't have his permission to use the stories or anything, but the sightings as he described them were absolutely terrifying. They were absolutely terrifying. And, things generally don't shock me very easily. But I found myself going, oh, just having this pit in my stomach drop as he explained what he saw. And it's one of those things that, maybe that's what's going on in some of these stories. I don't know. Oftentimes we think aliens. Well, it's maybe aliens. Well, maybe it is. But what if it's something else? So
vampire aliens.
What if it's vampire aliens? Ooh.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think it's that, but I think that, what if those legends are based on something? Those legends of the Nosferatu and the vampire and, all of the old stories from the old world. They're based on something. So what is it? I don't know. I know what it's become, but does that still resemble what it really was? Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. I tend to think no, probably not, but it still may be something absolutely shocking and horrible.
So even with his, I guess, testimony of his events as far as what happened and what you've read, where do you think the line is drawn between Hollywood and possible reality?
I couldn't even begin to tell you for sure. I think that, the whole crosses thing, I think that maybe there's something with sunlight, maybe there isn't. I don't know. I mean, it's hard to know. It seems like they do seem to prefer like not bright sunlight, from what I've gathered in the couple of stories that I've been able to glean, or the few stories. but I don't think that, crosses as a symbol is intricately aversive to them. But I think that faith is maybe what can keep them away. And so, I'm not a big believer in just this symbol by itself has some kind of power and authority. I think that the faith in the symbol is what makes it powerful. So, but anyway, I don't know. It's kind of spider web there. I apologize, but there's only one more to go, but we'll pick it up after the break, folks. We'll be right back in just a couple minutes for more of the Paranormal Portal.
Play their games. Everybody loves to place their bets. They don't understand the price I paid. They don't care to comprehend. Trace their lines upon my body, ripping scars across my heart. Raging anger boils inside me as their lies keep falling apart. With my silence, I am not a stupid boy. No more breaking me with kindness, just you dance upon my joy. Leading me with empty promise, you're just another fucking mess. Taking off the slice of my sanity, just make sure that you're well fed.
Caroline. not like those she's with. They're attracted to the one thing about her that is different from themselves. Her life force. It is very strong. It gives off its own illumination. It is a light that implies life and memory of love and home and earthly pleasures. Something they desperately desire, but can't have anymore. Right now, she's the closest thing to that.
Poltergeists are usually associated with an individual. Hauntings seem to be connected with an area. A house, usually.
Poltergeist disturbances are fairly short duration, perhaps a couple of months. Hauntings can go on for years.
Absolutely years, folks. All right, welcome back, everybody. This is hour number 2 of the Paranormal Portal is upon us. As always, it gets just wild up here. But Sheldon did find an article about Buffer Night in Missouri. So let's check this out.
Yeah.
All right. Did you actually read it, Sheldon?
Yes, it's a little darker than I thought it was going to be.
Okay, well, let's check this out. It says, this is from What is Buffer Night in Missouri, slfp.com. All right, it says, for reasons related to anger, disturbances of the peace, or burning down property, they hanged or beat people to death. A number of, what, did I get to the start? Yeah, I guess so. A number of bald knobbers were capable of using their menacing power in order to get their way in targeting those that owned them, owed them money, or owed land that they coveted. This is a kind of long. Okay, let's see. Are the bald knobbers real? A vigilant group formed between 1885 and 1889 in Missouri's Ozarks region called the Bald Knobbers. They patrolled the area located in Ozark Mountain. It has a grassy bald knob summits just north of Kirbyville, Missouri on Snaps Bald. The two met at a peak of a hill. Why are they called Bald Knobbers? As a result of illegal activities, the outlaws that began making inroads into the country in 1883, numerous citizens formed a committee led by Nathaniel Kinney to deal with them. One of the area's mountains near their location was dubbed the Bald Knobble Forest. Despite being masked, they traveled on it with distinctive masks on. Who were the Bald Knobbers in Missouri? For a long time, the Bald Knobbers were dedicated to restoring law and order to the area. Oldfield was known as a torture camp as they began to punish criminals. They continued to harm innocent people, particularly those of the Eden and Green families who died there. Who were the original Bald Knobbers? Those pictured are Bill Mabe, Bob Mabe, Delbert Howard, original cast, Bill Mabe, Bob Mabe, Delbert Howard, left to right back. I don't know what picture they're talking about here. But anyway, where do the Bald Knobbers perform? I don't know. This sounds like a group now. There's Butterbean. That guy was a good boxer. But
Cold Stairs says, Bald Knobbers, a vigilante group using their power to get their way and restoring peace. Several members of the Bald Knobbers were hanged here around May 10th, 1889.
Oof. Well.
So, when did that story take place?
It doesn't really say. Let's see. Let's go back up here. It says, takes place in the mid-90s, a time before widely used cell phones and GPS. So mid-1990s.
It could even be like a shift to another time type of thing, just like other stories we've read.
Could be, but they had gas station, which kind of takes it out of the 1800s, right?
True. It's weird. Oh.
It is weird. Whatever it is, now that doesn't mean that they still don't observe those customs maybe in some areas, and they have people that have done wrong, and they have them as guests. I don't know. It sounds like a terrible thing, but it's a good day to just be some lost kids instead of the guests.
Yeah.
Anyway, interesting article all the same. It was a very cool story. And I love these articles like this because these are the gems. All right. So this is apparently the last one. It says, honestly, they probably just all decided to move to Canada. There's a town right near me in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, Lincoln Way in Clairton, Pennsylvania, where a whole street full of families disappeared overnight back in the 70s. Everything, bills, food, clothes, etc., was left behind. No trace of them to this day. You can go on Google Maps and look it up. The houses are abandoned and almost closed off from the rest of the town. That was by Naidi Nikolev.
That's weird.
Okay, so when a story like this, that could be more espionage, spy kind of stuff. Like, so what if there's people that, of course there were during the Cold War, we were sending spies over to Russia. Russia was sending spies over here, and many movies have talked about that. So what if in this case that was just a street where they kind of collaborated and it was like a brain center, and when they figured the heat was on, they just boom, took off and disappeared. So I mean, there are possibilities like that. It doesn't all have to be a paranormal. So
true.
What if it was just something
for the
like
time that would make sense? Yeah.
Yeah, or it's a crime family or something that just took residence on this street and under assumed names or whatever. Where did it take place? Cold Steers, where did it take place? It sounds like they were from Arkansas but went up to Missouri to a water park, and that's where they got lost on the way back. So it was Missouri. So very wild. But there you have it, folks. That was a cool article. Take from it what you will. Again, it takes a leap of faith to say, oh, these are all real. These are real, true stories. We don't know. I have no idea, but I find them incredibly interesting to read and incredibly intriguing to discuss. Like, I think these discussions are awesome because, we're all sitting on the outside of missing 411, wondering what's going on. What if these stories, the ones that may be true, maybe they're all true, maybe none of them are true, but what if there's a few in there that are actually true and can give us a glimpse into what is happening to those people that just are gone and have become, part of David Paulides' body of work? What if that was possible? That what these people experienced was some of those same phenomena, but they just made it back. I did a show years ago on the YouTube channel called, it's the Paranormal Portal, but the episode was called Almost Missing. And I covered other stories where people feel like they were almost missing, but they ended up making it back before they, disappeared completely. So it's worth checking out. A lot of stories kind of like this, people finding themselves in places they shouldn't be because they went through a gateway, a portal or something. So it's one of my older shows, but I still like that one, and it still does pretty good as far as the views. So anyway, cool article. Thank you for paying attention for it. And let's close that. We're going to get to some of the Phantoms and Monsters reports, and we also got a couple from Sasquatch Chronicles coming up. The first, this didn't, no. Did I read this one last night? I got to look. I might have. Yeah, we did. We did read it. The first one I read, but that's okay because I pulled up too many things anyway, so it was good that we can close that one. So these are stories from phantomsandmonsters.com, and this is, of course, our friend Lon Strickler's site. Fantastic site. Again, please, any of the sites that we talk about on the show where we cover articles from them, go check them out. Go, check out these pages because, for one of the reasons is because a lot of these sites are trying to support themselves on advertising, then basically they place ads on their sites just so they can recover some revenue, because hosting a website is a lot of work, just monetarily anyway, but then to put a lot of time and energy into aggregating material for those sites is huge. So go support them just by checking them out and clicking on some ads or whatever. I don't know, but it will help. Yeah. It will help these sites to maintain. I just think these sites are amazing. Lon's doing great things in many ways. He's got a repository for people's encounters or claims of things they've experienced. He's got investigations. He's got a whole body of published works as far as books he's written, as well as Arcane Radio, which was formerly Arcane Radio, is now Phantoms and Monsters Radio, his podcast, which is happening on Friday nights. So Actually, about the same time ours is. So, but I mean, we don't have a lock on Friday nights. I can't feel bad about that. A lot of shows that I love are actually on at the same time that we are. So, but I have to be here because this is my job.
Absolutely.
But the article we're going to start with is having to do with black-eyed kids. Ooh, these are shudders. I often
Black-eyed beans.
Yeah, like black-eyed beans. Now, here's the thing with black-eyed kids. Speaking of the vampire stuff, I often have wondered if what we understand as black-eyed kids was based or is just a newer name for a phenomenon that's long been understood as vampires. And I had that idea years ago on the show when I was doing a show. It's like, God, this sounds like vampire kind of things because they basically can't enter without permission. They have this somewhat of a mind control to them where they people feel compelled to do what they say. And so come to your own conclusions about it. It could be just an entirely different phenomena, but it is very interesting. So this is from phantomsandmonsters.com. And black-eyed kids appear and then vanish along Nevada Desert Highway. And this is dated April 9th, so it was from today. Very cool, Lon. A special thanks again to Lon for letting us go over these for the show. I hate that feedback. I don't know what the hell that is. A long-haul truck driver takes a break along a Nevada highway in the desert. While in the sleeper, he hears tapping from outside and observes two kids with black eyes. Oof. The account gets creepy. My uncle, an over-the-road owner-operator for 30-plus years, told us, my cousins and myself, a story in the mid-1980s about a run he was driving from Nashville to Chicago, then Chicago to San Francisco, and then back to Nashville in the late 70s. According to his story, he was driving through a desert in Nevada. It was about 10 p.m., and he had been driving for 14 or 15 hours at that point. And he said that there hadn't been anything for 100 miles but sand, cactuses, and snakes. His eyelids were starting to grow heavy, so he just pulled right over onto the side of the road, headed back to his sleeper, and passed out. At around 2 a.m., he was awakened to the sound of tapping outside of his cab. Thinking it might be the Highway Patrol or DOT, he hopped into his passenger seat to grab his logbook before going to see who was knocking. As he grabbed his logbook, he heard the tapping again coming from the lower glass of his driver door, followed by a child's voice say, "Hey, mister, we're thirsty and tired. Can we come inside?" He was suddenly struck with this feeling of absolute dread. He said it was so strong that he didn't even want to look to see who was speaking. Something you've got to understand about my uncle, in the entire time I knew him to that point, I'd never seen him scared of anything. Anything. I'd seen him charge head first towards a guy that had drawn a gun on him. I'd seen him literally attack an alligator that had gotten too close to my cousin when we all went on vacation to Florida one year. Nothing scared the man. However, even years after this incident, he was telling the story to us. You could see the fear in his eyes. He said they had tapped on the glass again, and once again, asked once more to be let inside. Sorry. Again, against his better judgment, he looked over at the glass and then just froze. He said they looked like two normal kids, if a little pale, but it was their eyes. Their eyes were solid black. He described them as seeming to have eyes, but also not having eyes, and yet felt like they were staring right through him, through his lower glass. He immediately yelled at them to leave him be. He said they stared at him almost angrily for a few seconds and then just disappeared. Not like they turned away and walked off or stepped down from his bottom step, just poof, gone. He sat in his passenger seat for a few seconds trying to figure out what had just happened, when suddenly they started pounding on his passenger door right next to him and yelled, "Let us in now!" He said they didn't even sound like kids anymore. With zero hesitation, he jumped from his passenger seat to his driver's seat, threw his rig in gear, and peeled out from there as fast as he could switch gears. He said he didn't slow down until he hit California and took a different highway back to Tennessee. He did say that he saw them again later on that morning, though. He said he'd been trucking down the highway for another couple of hours when, in his lights, he saw those same 2 kids on the side of the road, just standing there, staring at his truck. They continued to stare at him the entire time he passed them. But they were gone when he looked for them in his side mirrors and told us he found another gear in his truck that he didn't even know he had then. I'll bet. Could it have been a nightmare? Not likely, since he was obviously awake when he was driving into California that morning. Could it have been a story he made up just to scare us kids? Maybe. But he wasn't really the scary story type. As well as that, he told us all the same story well into our adult years. Could it have been the hallucinations of an overworked, sleep-deprived mind? Possibly, but he'd worked those hours and had even drove the same route for many years before and after. Also, the whole black-eyed kid phenomena hadn't even been popularized in the mainstream yet, and wouldn't be for a couple of decades. I'll let you make your own judgment on his story. That's an interesting point because Brian Bethel, I think, of Texas, was the reporter who encountered the black-eyed kids in a parking lot and started writing about them and brought them into our modern consciousness. So it is kind of interesting that this story predates that by a couple of decades.
Yeah, there's just something just horrifying about trying to picture like these demonic children. I don't know. There's something so unsettling about it. I see why Don fears it. I really do.
Yeah, I mean, the thing of it is that I think it's hard to conceptualize what that would look like, but I think anybody in that situation would just be like, because you don't know what they want. Obviously, they want to get to you for some reason, and what that reason is, nobody's quite sure. But I've heard stories of people that did end up coming into contact with them, passing away or fighting horrible infections with right at the edge of their life, and all these strange things that seem to manifest after being in contact with them, if they open the door or let them in or something like that. But there aren't many stories of them actually being let in. It's like people have this almost like a genetic memory, like, no, these are not good. Get away. So for whatever they are.
Yeah, that's something I was actually going to bring up, like the fact that, I mean, I know the times are off. It sounded like it was at night when this happened, and if kids are knocking on my door at night, it's already a red flag. What this doesn't happen.
Where are your parents? You have
exactly.
No business being out. Get home. Yeah, that's pretty true. Yep, there's kids outside of your cab in the middle of a desert. This is already not normal. So
yeah.
It's only going to get weirder from there. So very cool story. I think these stories are fascinating. I really do like this because we don't hear a lot before Brian Bethel's, although people have claimed the stories go way back. And I've always thought that, we hear terms like black-eyed kids or Slender Man or other things, and we think, oh, it's creepypasta, just an internet meme that kind of went out of control. But again, I think these are just new names for old phenomena. Just very rare. Go ahead.
You'd think by now that they would learn not to show their black eyes by now.
Yeah. The whole approach doesn't seem to work out real well for them.
Oh, so. It's so menacing. What do you?
Or does it?
Think it would say yes.
Or does it? So again, what happens? If you do let them in? Well, we've heard a few stories, like I said, but normally you don't hear those. You hear the ones where people just like, no, I'm not letting you in. Get the hell away from my door. What if there are more people that let them in and don't get to tell the story? I don't know. Just saying. Again, I think that there's some merit to these stories in terms of the old vampire legends and myths. So that's what makes me think this black-eyed kids thing is probably just a rename of that old vampire story to some degree. Now these are looking like kids, but there are stories of black-eyed adults as well. So, I don't know. Yep, there are, but there are less stories of the black-eyed adults, but they're out there. And again, you just don't know what to believe. It's one of those things. But let's get to the next one because the clock is ticking and we got lots more to cover.
All right.
Next one is a Bigfoot report coming from Phantoms and Monsters, ladies and gentlemen, from yesterday. the 22nd, or no, April 8th of 2022, not the 22nd. And this is massive Sasquatch sighting and encounters experienced by Pierce County, Washington resident. It seems like everywhere has a Pierce County. Because there was one just across from in Wisconsin. I looked at Pierce County every morning when I got up or went out to the beach. And then across the river was Pierce County of Wisconsin. But a Pierce County resident in Washington describes astounding Sasquatch activity experienced around his home and a sighting in the area around Joint Base Lewis McChord. Very interesting report. Goes on to say, I moved out to a remote area in Pierce County, Washington about 14 years ago. Not totally in the middle of nowhere, but you could see it from here. I like that. Not in the middle of nowhere, but you could see nowhere from here. Anyhow, I have a little piece of land that I've cleared, maybe 3/4 of an acre around the house, and left the woods out back alone for the most part. My woods are home to everything from bear, cougar, bobcats, coyotes, and most of the time I've lived here. I thought I was the king of these woods with my 30-06. However, I've been scared out of my own woods a few times since I came here, even with a loaded .45 or long gun in my hands. We don't usually concern ourselves too much with the wildlife here, and I don't harvest anything from my own woods, preferring to let them have my woods as a sort of protected sanctuary. A few times we have been nervous about bear and cougar in the immediate vicinity, but unless they get too familiar here, I'm not going to bother them. I've spent a lot of time in the woods and I'm not easily spooked, especially if I'm armed. However, I believe strongly in my own instincts as they have literally saved my butt a few times, so I listen to them when my hackles go up. One day, out back within 80 to 100 feet of the house, I was just sneaking through the woods early in the morning looking for anything interesting I could find. I soon heard some very solid and heavy tree knocks very close to where I was at. The underbrush was pretty thick, and I could not see further than 20 to 30 feet from where I was in any direction. I froze and waited, and again, 3 very loud thunks. Sounded like someone was hitting a tree with a huge axe or sledgehammer, or a basketball-sized rock, maybe. Anyhow, I had my .45 in my waistband and very quickly had it in my hand. I did not know what was making that powerful knocking, but I did not want to be around to see. I had the dignity not to run out of the woods, but I proceeded at a very fast pace back to the house. Another time we were outside having a cold beverage at about 3 on a hot summer night when we heard a phenomenally long drawn-out animal or primal howl that came from a huge set of lungs. It seemed to be covering ground as it howled, and at first I thought it was screaming motorcycle and then the siren from the firehouse a few miles away, but then it undulated up into a shrill primal sound and was so drawn out as to be impossible. Until it cycled up at the end, I was not sure what it was, but at that point it was obvious that it came from a set of big vocal cords and a set of lungs. After exchanging a quick "Did you hear that?" and a quick "Yup," we were up and headed for the door. In a few minutes, we'd laughed it off and went back to listen some more. Within a few minutes, a fairly large tree sounded like it was slammed to the ground with force, not too far from the house. This was not a tree leisurely falling over. It was a wrenching and violent sound of a big piece of living wood being broken. That sent us back to the house again and for the rest of the night, and this time and we spent a long time wondering what the hell we had heard. Upon discussing this with my kids, 22 and 24 years old, they told me they called it the Banshee, and that they heard it a few times, always late at night. Then, in August of 2012, I was coming up 8th Avenue out of Spanaway, Washington, driving along the boundary of Joint Base Lewis McChord, and I saw a huge male Sasquatch cross the road into the military base about 400 feet in front of me. I got a very good look at it as I had my high beams on, and it was illuminated very well and for several seconds. Plenty of time for me to see it and do a double take and look again. Plenty of time to see and take in just how huge this thing was, being huge even for Sasquatch standards. It swiveled its upper body and turned to look at me and hurled off into the night. Needless to say, I was very disturbed and did not even consider taking a picture, but kept right the heck on moving. I was sort of in shock. And I think because even having heard all these things and living here in Sasquatch country, I was not a believer. I always figured there would be a body, there would be a irrevocable footage, or there would be something substantial if it was real. Wow. It also occurred to me that there must be a breeding population, not just one, and that with it moving into the military base, they must be aware of it with all the night ops and training they do over at the base. They have to know and have proof of it. No way they don't have proof, in my opinion. Anyway, I no longer feel secure with my guns in the woods. I haven't been camping since, and I keep out of my own woods and don't feel the need to hunt anymore either, to be honest. I still get goosebumps telling the story. Upon reporting this to BFRO, the investigator came to meet up with me and told me his first sighting was a very similar sized large male within a few miles of where I saw it at. So there it goes, folks. That's a huge report. And there's the break. So we're going to go to the last break, ladies and gentlemen. We'll come back with one more from Phantoms and Monsters, and then we'll get into a couple from Sasquatch Chronicles and see where we end up. Don't go away. We'll be right back. right, ladies and gentlemen, we're back, and hope you're enjoying the journey. Great to see you guys. Let's do some shout-outs here. See who's actually here at this point in the show. Not too many. If you want to shout out, you got to type something in the chat because that's where I know that you're here. If you don't, then I just don't know. Bam's over in TFR, though. How you doing, Bam? Good to see you, brother. Over here so far, we've got Android Purity, Cold Stairs, Dan Dawson, David Hettensheimer, Ghost Magnets, Karen Alberding, Maggie, Nathan Nate is here. Rachel Gets It Right, Ruger Ridge, Ruthie is here, and Sheldon, you're here. Brooks just came in, as did Robin Moonshadow. How you doing, Robin? I got to talk to you sometime in the near future. Robin Moonshadow, of course, is a proto-pygmy and little people investigator as well as a Bigfoot investigator. And she's up in Canada, but she comes down to the States and does research as well. And you can find her over at Strange Realms and check out her work. And she's appeared on the show a few times. Had some great discussions. But anyway, yeah, that's... Oh, EW Heels is here. How you doing, EW? That's a new name. Great to see you. Thanks for coming in. Huh?
I read it as E-Wheels.
E-Wheels. Oh, yeah. Sorry. E-Wheels. Sorry. Yeah, you're probably right. That's just my...
I don't know. Maybe.
No, I'm pretty sure you're probably right, and I'm just an idiot, but that's all right. I butcher things all the time on this show. It's nothing new. If you've been around a while, you'll know that I can destroy a lot of words in a hurry, and with the best of intentions.
Exactly.
All right, so...
They say it's E-Wheels. Yep, E-Wheels. I was right.
Yeah, Nathan Nate's laughing. Heels. Yeah, just rub it in, Nate. Go ahead, whatever. Get them while they're free. Just go ahead. I can take
that
it.
Low-hanging fruit, guys.
You're hanging lower all the time, too, let me tell you.
Oh, I'm not touching that. I'm not touching that.
Thank you. I'm here all night. All right. Quit picking on me, you guys. Let's get back at it. I don't mind a little ribbon, but I do have sensitivity issues. No, I'm just kidding. I don't.
True.
Not usually. Sometimes I do, but not usually.
Yeah.
All right. We got another story from Phantoms and Monsters that we're going to get into now. And this one's kind of cool because we've done a couple shows. We've done a couple shows at Jockery, Bible saving the guy's life happened on TV somewhere. I want to say The Simpsons, but I know I'm wrong. Was it The Simpsons? Really?
Simpsons did it.
Yep, could be. Everything seems to be prophesized on The Simpsons first anyway. So,
yeah, it's true.
Yeah, it is. Now, this is the interesting thing. We've done a couple of podcast shows and actually YouTube shows when we talk to Bucks County Paranormal Investigations, which is now renamed to Eric Mintel Investigates. So, but they've been on the show, as well as Eric Spinner, who is part of Squatch Talks, and they've investigated over in Jersey, and we've done a couple of shows with them, and they investigate about the Bigfoot presence there. And I asked Eric, who lives in that area, I was like, what do you think of the Jersey Devil stuff? And he said, well, I think it's just a lot of misidentification and stuff, but he has never heard or seen anything that would suggest there is the Jersey Devil. And if you're not familiar with the Jersey Devil, it's apparently some devil offspring that was birthed from a woman who cursed her child being born into the world because it was like a 13th child or something like that. And so it was born in this horrid state of like a creature rather than kind of like Rosemary's Baby kind of thing. And so people still claim to see this creature, which is apparently resembles some cross between a winged, like a bat-winged horse skeleton-esque thing that appears over there. Now, this is a report from Phantoms and Monsters of apparently somebody seeing just that. Now, what makes it interesting is it's, and not to take away from anybody's experiences, but of course, when you hear claims of by law enforcement, you tend to kind of dial into it because they are allegedly trained observers. And so we often give them a lot of credibility when they say they saw something. But this is a Jersey Devil encounter described by South Jersey police officer. So let's see what happens here and what's going on. Again, this was from April 8th, so yesterday, on phantomsandmonsters.com. A South Jersey police officer recounts his encounter with what he believes may have been the Jersey Devil during the summer of 2017. His girlfriend also witnessed the creature. So this took place in the summer of 2017. I was driving in southern New Jersey in Cumberland County, and I was out with my girlfriend at the time, and we always went on explorations and adventures together. In typical New Jersey fashion, we just drove around aimlessly near the Pine Barrens, which is a large area of pine forest that takes up a lot of South Jersey. We would always joke about trying to find the Jersey Devil, which was a mythological creature of New Jersey folklore. Basically, you just drive around pointing out shadows and try to scare your girlfriend. Anyway, as we're driving along at probably 2 a.m., we had a large section of forest surrounding us on a lonely road, and we were the only car for miles, but there were a few houses here and there. As we drove, I remember seeing movement to the right of the vehicle from the front, illuminated by the headlights, but to the right of the car. As I drove by, there was a creature standing about 4 or 5 feet in height. It seemed to be covered in brown hair, almost like a goat's. It had black wings that appeared to be leathery or smooth. I did not see a head, face, or anything else distinguishable. As we approached, maybe a distance of 10 to 20 yards, the creature flapped its wings a few times and took off vertically. Not at an angle like a plane or a bird takeoff. It then just disappeared as we drove past. The whole incident took maybe 5 to 7 seconds. I almost discounted it as a hallucination induced by lack of sleep or something, but my girlfriend interrupted my thought process by saying, "Did you see that?" Without hesitation, we pulled over and bailed out of the car with a flashlight. There was nothing. We looked and listened for a few minutes but couldn't find anything. We then started to Google all the wildlife of New Jersey to see if we could find what we saw, but no animal appeared close to what we observed. I don't know what we saw that evening. I'll make no assumptions. I just saw a creature that I could not identify in the short time that it was observed. Now, I'm a lawman in South Jersey and have seen some strange and crazy things in my time on the streets, but this is definitely the creepiest. I've never seen anything like that since, but lots of other people in New Jersey have reported similar sightings. Yeah, they do come up, so people are seeing something, right? But what exactly? I don't know. That's very strange. Very, very strange.
Rachel brought up a good point. She says, I think energy of a certain darkness will step into the shape of a town's fears. It's very much a group agreement that shapes what we fear into our darkest woods.
No, I think that's a great observation. Honestly, I think you're really, really on it. That's, it kind of becomes a tulpa of sorts, but it's like a community tulpa. That's maybe the belief, the expectation forms the reality. Maybe it's something that cloaks itself based on the expectation and is not so much a tulpa as it is a disguise. Now, I think that comes up quite a bit because there are several paranormal phenomena that seem to be very regional, especially like, for instance, in Asia. The Samara, the ring figure, the really emaciated girl standing in like a night clothes of some kind, like a nightgown, and the hair over her eyes. That's very common in China and Japan and Asian countries. Now that doesn't appear over here though. We don't see those things over here, or they're not reported, but that's widely reported in Asia. And is that exactly what you're saying, where it's because of the expectations of the observers, that the double slit experiment? They have an expectation of what it's going to look like, and so it looks like that. Does the observer shape the experience, or does the phenomena shape its description based on the observer? And those are great points, and absolutely compelling and valid.
I mean, for things that you can't find a whole lot of evidence on, like as far as like vampires, that it could be an explanation, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Could be.
Like the things that are less reported on. Probably not, Bigfoot and Sasquatch, but other obscure things, I would say.
Well, what if some of it was even Bigfoot and Sasquatch, and maybe that's sometimes when that happens, when it takes the shape of like a Bigfoot or Sasquatch, and then people observe it phasing out, just phasing, like disappearing. Maybe that's not an actual Sasquatch, but it's appearing as one because of the expectations of the observer. Maybe it's something energetic and becomes what people expect it to be, and then performs these amazing feats, and suddenly it's a supernatural experience.
If only I feared T-Rexes more.
You want to see? I do fear T-Rexes more. I tell you what, after going to Jurassic Park the first time, and I was, an adult at the time, but that it was so well done that it was like, it finally gave you an idea of what it would be like to be around when dinosaurs were around. And I thought, oh my God, that would have been horrible.
Yeah, we wouldn't be where we are now, at least.
No, we would be on the food chain, not at the top of it.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure we can technologically handle T-Rexes and stuff, but that would be a super predator for sure.
Oh yeah.
So anyway, those are great discussion points. Thank you for your input on that, Rachel. I think you're right. I think there's a lot to that, and I don't think that can be dismissed, but I think it's also a consideration, as I said, in Bigfoot sightings. Is it a physical creature, or is it something else? Well, maybe it's both. Maybe there is a physical being that is Bigfoot, but maybe other things just choose to look at it because that's what the observers expect.
Yeah,
that's
good point.
Good points. And now I'm not patting myself on the back. I'm just saying this is what I love about the show, because the Paranormal Portal is always primarily a discussion. Like, we talk about ideas, we talk about possibilities and the phenomena, and just try to break it down as much as we can with the information we have. And it's a growing body of information because there's more and more stories come into light all the time. And so it just gets better and better. It says, who else listens to Paranormal Portal with the lights off for more atmosphere?
I don't even do that.
No? I got the lights down, but not off. I like it subdued lighting. I do like sitting in the dark, truly. That's always very comfortable to me. But
not during these stories, though. No, not for me.
Robin says, the portal has something for everyone. Absolutely. So tell your friends about us and make sure you're subscribed if you're not already. We'd love for you to be a part of what we're doing all the time. So that's just awesome. I love when we're doing the shows to look up and see new names and stuff. It's like, wow, that's awesome. It's very exciting. I love seeing all of you regulars as well. Don't get me wrong, but it's really cool to see that it's growing and more people are finding us. I find those things absolutely magical. So
I think we have a new name, MJ. Maybe a new name.
MJ. I do. Man, MJ I do at Coldsters. Hi, MJ. Welcome to the show. Good to see you. Glad you're here. And welcome. I like that. That's cool. All right, we're going to move on to a couple articles from Sasquatch Chronicles blog and SasquatchChronicles.com, and just a word about that. And it's something that I think a lot of people, I think everybody, if you're into the paranormal or the cryptids, you know about Sasquatch Chronicles because it's the biggest podcast out there, the most popular and successful. Wes has done a hell of a job over there, but I think outside of memberships and stuff, I don't think a lot of people, maybe they do, maybe I'm absolutely wrong, but I think most people don't look at SasquatchChronicles.com as a resource except for the podcast. But it's so much more than that. He's got people contributing articles. He's got other shows that he's highlighting things on, and sometimes we get featured over there, which is really cool. But check it out, SasquatchChronicles.com. Because there's so much more information that Wes is putting out there than just the weekly shows or if you're a member, the other show for members. There's just so much more going on. So stop over to SasquatchChronicles.com. The first one, and special thanks to Wes for letting us use this as well. I said, Wes, can I use it? He goes, yeah, go ahead.
Oh, nice.
He's always so cool. Just a nice guy, really nice guy. So going to the Sasquatch Chronicles blog as of April 1st, he's got the listener writes, it says, tonight's show, we are moving. And this must have been an episode. I haven't been able to listen lately for a few weeks now to his newest stuff. But if you haven't heard Sasquatch Chronicles, you really should hear it. It's just such a great show. And I'm here to tell you, I used to work in a cubicle and it was horrible. But my days consisted of putting in my earbuds, throwing on the playlist of Sasquatch Chronicles, and just blowing through the day. And it really did get me through a lot of days, and became the inspiration for me to create the portal, which has really been cool. And then to have, of course, the friendship with Wes as well has been awesome. But this is a listener writes, let me put it on screen. A listener writes, I live in the hills in the Smoky Mountains. I was a non-believer, definitely, until I spotlighted one drinking. I've heard from my creek at 3 a.m. one night. I woke up from a dead sleep and had a feeling of danger or something being very wrong. I went to my back door and have a giant spotlight. I shined it towards my creek, which is always full of deer in my backyard. Never seen a bear in the 6 years I lived here, and I saw something furry at the creek 90 yards from my back door drinking, and I thought, wow, there's a bear. Then it stood up, and I saw the huge hands that hung past his knees. Big hands. Black, furry, sleek, mahogany-ish dark hair, about 12 inches maybe hanging off the body. It was probably about 4 feet across and about 8 feet tall. Extremely muscular look, like a bodybuilder. It leaned its head back and let out a scream that sent ripples through my body, from my head all the way to my feet, like a bass on a stereo turned up way too loud. I felt my organs vibrating, and I couldn't believe what I was seeing. So I shined the light on it again, and it screamed for about 30 to 45 seconds straight without taking a breath. So long, so loud, the loudest sound I think I've ever heard in my life, maybe besides an air siren. Spoke to the eyewitness, and her husband bought a large piece of property 6 years ago in Tennessee. Oh, this is from Tennessee, okay. The witness said, I did not believe in Bigfoot. I thought it was a joke. We've had so many things happen at this property. I don't know what these things are, but we are actively looking for a different place to live. Yeah, that's...
Yeah, that'll do it.
If you go from non-believer or just, there's no such thing to, oh my God, it's there and it's screaming at me and it's huge, that's enough to make you want to look into some different real estate. Yeah, I don't blame you. I don't know. I mean, what was the danger? Why did they have the danger vibes? I think that these things, they must trigger something at just a subconscious level on us. Like perhaps when our great ancestors were carving out life in the wild world, maybe we competed with these things, as Lloyd Pye suggested. And so maybe we were constantly having issues with them back and forth, and it just became like a genetic memory. Like we know when they're around because we've been competing with them for millennia in the wilds before we became what we are now. And so it makes you wonder, how do people pick up on that fear like a sixth sense? And you hear it all the time in these reports. Like, I don't know, I just felt suddenly this wave overcame me and I knew I was in danger. Like they don't even know what they're experiencing, but they get the vibes first. It's like these vibes to kick in, and it's this palpable presence. Palpable, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a presence that people seem to pick up on even before they're aware of the phenomena happening. They don't know what it is, but they pick up on this danger. And, God, it's something 8 feet tall and can move like lightning and can, beat you into pudding. It makes sense. So it's a very quick article, but what?
Yeah. I mean, we have a subconscious kind of memory too. Sure. And maybe it's one of those things when the brain, has all the information and it can't put together what it is, even as a guess. Mm-hmm. Maybe that's when the freak out happens, because it is part of the unknown, and humans do fear the unknown.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
I think we do. I think it stands to reason when as a genetic memory, when something threatens your existence or the existence of your people. Sure. God, I don't like that noise. I just feel like there's an old lady wagging her finger at me going, It's just a electronical thing through Skype, I'm sure, which just updated and recreated my world.
Oh, nice.
Damn Skype. All right. Well, damn Microsoft, I should say. But anyway, let's get to the next one. That was the first one. And there's another one that I wanted to read tonight. And this was from the blog, The Kangaroo Man, from March 28th on SasquatchChronicles.com. And it says, this past weekend, the 26th of March, my son and I went camping on some family land that is located just south of Georgetown County. This property is in an area that is steeped in local history. Revolutionary War, Civil War, Reconstruction, and it's renowned for its duck, turkey, and deer hunting. We've been working the property for the past 2 years. Logging road, trail building, planting food plots, and building duck blinds in an effort to get it ready for hunting and wildlife management. It is an amazing piece of land, and we're blessed to have it. Turkey season opened this week in my area of South Carolina, so we finally decided to camp out and have our first ever turkey hunt on the property, which is loaded with turkeys. This weekend, we made it all happen. We set up our campsite and enjoyed an amazing low country spring evening and night. Temps in the low 60s, crystal clear night sky, crescent moon, and a great storytelling of past adventures with my brother, his longtime friend, and me, and my 12-year-old son. It was amazing. Great food, great conversation, lots of laughs, and some solid life lessons conveyed to my 12-year-old son in front of his uncles and his dad around a picnic table in the campfire. At about 11 p.m., we called it a night because we were to be up at 5:30 a.m. to rig up and head out to our respective turkey blinds. Given the cool evening air and the massive camp meal, I was out like a light and slept solidly through the night. I was awoken by my son at 4:30 a.m. who told me he saw a kangaroo man while he went outside the tent to relieve himself of the 8 Yahoo chocolate sodas he consumed outside around the campfire. He noted that the thing stood about 40 feet away from him and was about 5.5 feet tall and was just standing in front of the wood line. He described it as a very muscular, like a kangaroo, a bit hunched over and standing on 2 legs. He also said it was covered in white hair. The one detail that caught my attention is that he noted that it had very long arms. The hands went down to its knees. This is a detail that I know well from listening to your show. What do you mean, Sasquatch Chronicles? But he has never heard your show and doesn't know about this detail. He noted that he was frozen in fear when he saw it. The creature looked at him and then began to walk off, paralleling the wood line. My son stated that it walked upright about 15 yards and then it just disappeared as it came to this large tree. He claims it literally just vanished. Poof, it vanished. He told his exact account again this morning to my wife at breakfast. I don't know what to make of this. My son is not one to make up stories. He's a very self-confident, well-adjusted, and a popular young man. He's a solid multi-sport athlete and a very good student. I'm inclined to believe that he saw something. That what it was, I have no idea. So there is a precedent for albinos in the Sasquatch. Pennsylvania is famously known for one, or at least maybe more than one, but there's one that is seen and it's believed to be the same one repeatedly. But I don't see any reason why it couldn't be an albino squatch.
I mean, who's to say? I thought of this while you're reading the story, but who's to say that there aren't Bigfoot apparitions?
Well, yeah, I mean, there's that too, I guess. There's certainly that possibility. There's the spirit of squatches, and then there's squatches. You never know.
I mean, there's spirits of dogs and whatnot. I don't see why not.
Right.
Could be an idea.
Could be. I don't know, folks. But you know what I do know?
Oh, my gosh. That's the end.
It is. Brooke says, Are you sure the aliens aren't trying to talk to you, Brent? Maybe they're going to beam me up. Hey, get off the radio. Come here.
Come outside quick.
Get the saucer. Come outside. Excuse me. Hold on. Yeah. Well, it could be. Could be the aliens. I don't know. They should probably try a little different way of getting in touch with me. This connection's not real solid, but we made it through this show, ladies and gentlemen. We hope you've enjoyed the journey. Sheldon, did you have a good time?
I had a great time.
How do people stay in touch?
Well, the best way to stay in touch is to view our Discord. We can look at all the articles, threads, discussions, and get in contact with us if you wish.
There you go. And there's the link in the YouTube chat if you want to check it out. Just remember, folks, we love you all. Be good, be kind, be nice. Take care of each other. Help each other out. Find the magic in every day, and remember to laugh as much as you can. We'll be back on Wednesday for another show, folks. So until then, love you all, and we'll see you. Feel free to email. I'd love to hear from you guys. Take care. Good night, everybody.